Alohomora, listeners of the Art Versations podcast. This is Art Versations, a meditative conversation about the artistic process. My name is Bri, like the cheese, and I'll be your host for the next hour. Thank you so much for tuning in and choosing to click on this show. Don't forget to subscribe and follow the podcast Instagram at ArtVersationsPod to stay up to date about future episodes. If you're listening on Spotify, go answer the community question because I'd love to hear your thoughts on art. Are you just as sane as I am? All right, I hope you're getting all of these Harry Potter references. Back on the podcast with a wand and a broom in his hand. It's Luke Kimball. Luke is an actor and director currently playing Albus Potter in the Toronto production of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Performances began on May 31st with the official opening happening this Sunday, June 19th. Go check out the link in description and get your tickets at mervish.com. You don't want to miss this show. We recorded this episode about a month ago while Luke was heavy into rehearsing, and without giving away all of the mischief, we dove deep into the process of this spectacular production at the CAA at Mervish Theatre. Accio a pint of butterbeer and entered the Chamber of Secrets. Let's hear all about the magic of Luke Kimball.
It's very rare that I'm in a show, and it's hard, as you know, when you're in a show looking at it and going like, you kind of look around and you're like, is this good? I think we're in a good one, right?
I think it's working.
You know, you were always like, I hope so.
Yeah.
It's hard to know.
Yeah,
hope.
that word hope that you said. Hi, Luke.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so excited we can make this work.
Me too.
I feel very grateful that you just have time in your busy schedule right now.
I mean, I don't have that much time, but I'm thrilled to make time because I really like your podcast and I loved doing it before, so I'm thrilled.
I know, yeah. Back on the pod.
Yeah.
This time just by yourself, which is nice.
Have you had repeat guests before?
A little bit.
I want to be the first one.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I know. Sarah's been on twice now.
Oh, okay.
So she beat you.
I'm okay with that. If it's going to be anyone, I want it to be Sarah Gervais. Excellent playwright, actor.
Oh. How are you feeling today? How's the rain been for you? It's been so dreary.
I'm feeling good. Mm-hmm. Rain... I get headaches on rainy days, so I have a headache, but that's okay. All things considered, today's my day off, so I got to visit some friends last night, which was good because I haven't caught up with them for a little while, feeling generally really happy these days, so that's good.
That makes me smile so wide. If people can't see, I'm like. The happiness that you're like beaming off right now, like I need that. I like. There's so much going on. There's so many things happening, which is great. Like we're back. We're kind of opening now to full capacity. Mm-hmm. But that comes with like the grind and the hustle and the like never stop working that I used to do in like pre-pandemic days. And so it's like kind of draining me a bit to like be back working.
I feel that. I mean. The reason we're here talking about the play, so just started rehearsals for it, and it's like I think everyone in the company, we were all talking about it's so wild that we went from not seeing anyone to all of a sudden we're in a room every day with like 60 people. Wow. And just the dramatic shift of that, and it totally is. It's taxing in a way that I'm not accustomed to. Like I'm a 100% extrovert, and so. Gotcha. Being with people that like I thrive in that environment, but I'm like out of practice. So now I'm seeing people every day, and it totally is taxing. But you know, I am an extrovert, so it does feed me in a certain way, and also I'm grateful to be. I'm just grateful to be doing this thing again. I haven't been prepping a show for a year and a half, and the show I did most recently was an outdoor thing, and that was amazing. But being in a theater again feels so special, and I'm just riding that. I'm just riding that.
That's
high.
keeping you going, yeah.
But totally, like a lot of people are echoing that, like that new getting reaccustomed to seeing people and as you said, the hustle and the grind of it all. Like hoping that we can retain some of the stuff from the pandemic. It was like, oh, we need to remember to slow down, that a lot of people talked about being reminded of.
Yes.
Feeling that slip away as we get back into the routine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's...
there has to be a balance.
There has to be a balance, yeah.
Or else we're all going to go crazy.
Yeah, you can't all be doing nothing.
Yeah.
But hopefully we don't all push ourselves to exhaustion again, and finding that sweet spot. I mean, that's the challenge.
That's the challenge. That's the work. That's the, like... I imagine that's the thing that's keeping you going, like you're saying. Like, it's just you show up and 60 other people are doing the same thing. Kind of carries you along, I guess. Yeah,
there's a real communal environment that everyone that we are all helping each other, and again, that we're all coming from the same place. Like, we are all feeling that same. We're dealing with it in different ways, obviously, but everybody is feeling that renegotiation with that the relationship to seeing people and doing stuff all day. But it totally helps that the thing I'm doing is what I love, and it's 1,000 times better than I imagined that it would be, and the people are 1,000,000 times more exciting than I could have ever possibly thought.
That's great.
Yeah. And are you finding yourself pulled more towards the grind than you would have hoped?
Well, and like you mentioned, like there are things I've learned about, rest and what that does for my process. It actually helps. Who would have thought? I always thought, just keep going and like never stop, because if you don't have to get ready, then you're already ready, kind of thing, right?
Yep.
So that was like a mantra that I used during school, during like my early like career days, I guess. And then once we like just did zero and did no live shows, nothing that could like fuel me in the same way that it did, I like sat with myself thinking like, why did I go through all that stress? And it depends on the project, I guess. Like sometimes when I'm in a room with people who are like so committed and like are talking about the show after the rehearsal ends, or like if we're talking about it in other conversations, just because it's like that meaty of work, it's so like full of nutrition in that way.
Sure.
Not to use a food metaphor, but
that's great.
Like something to gnaw on. Like it really does. I want to continue working on it rather than it feeling like a job or like a task or a chore. But yeah, I think also with most of my work is in dance, and I do have to remember that like my body breaks down after like being on my feet 12 hours a day. So I learned a lot about like injury prevention over the pandemic, and trying to make sure that I just like warm up properly every single time I step into a room. I've got
my voice was just feeling fatigued yesterday, and I was caught off guard by that, because I don't want to be arrogant about it, but I think I have pretty good technique. Like I never really, like I've done outdoor shows, and I've never struggled with vocal fatigue before. And I talk a lot in this play, and it's a really demanding show. But I was like, oh, I never thought I would feel fatigued. But then I remembered, like, oh, I haven't done this for 2 years. Like, right. I really, year and a half, I suppose, for the last show I did. But even then, it was like, it was a shorter thing, and it felt more, I don't know, I wasn't training my body in the same way that I would have in a longer process. I guess coming out of school, where I was training every single day, and I was
constantly in that like mode of like, oh, we got to go to class now, or we got to do this thing now.
Yeah, and my body was always ready.
Yes. And
then I just fell out of practice. So I was feeling vocal fatigue yesterday a lot, and a little bit today, and it's because I haven't been warming up as much as I want to be. But being in the rehearsal for the show, like they're like, my idols are in this show, and like actors who've been working for decades, and I was talking to one of them. I was like, oh my gosh, we do a Polyjuice transformation in the show, which is spectacular. And Polyjuice in the story it's one of the most painful things you can experience.
Yes,
you're literally changing to someone else, and what that does physically is terribly uncomfortable.
Your like insides are turning inside out, and then you also have to like change your voice and change your. I mean, exactly. In the world of this magic, yeah.
So it's a huge experience. Anyway, so doing that it takes a lot of physical exertion. And one of my favorite actors is doing it too. I was like, oh man, I really didn't. I should have warmed up before doing that. And he was like, me too. I threw out my voice doing that just now. I'm like, oh, you do that too? Even after decades, you do that too? You didn't warm up and you hurt your voice? He's like, oh yeah, every time I remember, I should have warmed up.
Professional people are also just tired? Oh wow, that's nice to hear.
Totally. We're all just humans trying to remember to do our best and sometimes forgetting to warm up and going like, oh, that's a really good thing to do. We're not invincible.
Yes. In my work, there's a lot of, lifting or acrobatic moves that, like, truly, if I do it wrong or if I'm not in that state, like, physically to be able to do it, I'm going to hurt myself every time I do it. And sometimes it's even shown, like, in a bruise or, or, like, a long-lasting injury that I just have to nurse after. But I also wonder if there's, a wonderful part to being an artist that we really give our whole selves to something so interesting as well as like changing into a new human. Like that's your task on stage, changing into a new human. Like you like, I'm assuming you'd have to really like just get into that and like leave everything else behind and then do it back to get back into your other character. Like that mentally feels like a lot, or emotionally too, feels like a lot of dedication that might just totally exhaust you.
And like every show you figure out, I assume it's the exact same for you, like you figure out what that show requires. And, so we're also in the process of this show, like, oh, this is going to require this. Oh, I'm realizing that this particular thing is causing me discomfort in this part of my body that I don't normally use, or I need to strengthen this part of my body. So we're just halfway through rehearsals now, so we're all trying to figure out what are the things we need to do for this show. And this one I'm like, oh, it's going to be a very good, solid vocal warm-up that allows me to really scream and not injure my voice. And physically, it's going to be a huge warm-up as well. But it's the great thing about this show. I feel like we're going to have to double back and like talk about what show we're talking about.
Yes, I know. I'm so sorry. This is the fun part about podcasting about art projects. When do I bring up the art project?
I just launched right into it because all I do is all I think about. So I just slid right into it.
You've been referring to it as this show for like 12 sentences, and I was like, okay, maybe I should say it now.
Oh my gosh.
This big thing that you're in. Luke Kimball, you're going to be in the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
I shouldn't. It's so funny because I always call it this show because I can't wrap my mouth around saying that I'm doing this. Like I can't.
It's still not like in your voice.
I can't say that I'm doing Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Like it feels too. I say it and it feels fake. Like I feel like I'm lying when I say it. And I'm not. I am going to do it. But it just feels so enormous. Like, so I have caught myself doing it all the time. I just say this show. Everybody who knows, everyone I talk to knows what it is. But I suppose for this format, I'm not just talking to you. I'm talking to your podcast. So, okay.
Listeners, they're here too.
Yeah, okay. So yes, I'm doing Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Yes, and you are playing Albus Potter, the son of Harry Potter.
Yes.
So
all of that entails.
All of that. I mean, we're going to get into it. There's so much. Well, first of all, what's Luke's Hogwarts house? I wanted to know, like, just you specifically.
Yeah, Gryffindor.
Where do you sit? Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where would you put me?
Well, I'm a Ravenclaw, and so I always want to, like, attract more Ravenclaws, because everyone's Gryffindor, everyone's Slytherin, right? Like, there's so many trendy, like, I want to be the Gryffindor. But I have to say, and Bri is a Ravenclaw. She always will be. Yeah. So I have to sit with that. How does it feel being a Gryffindor?
I love it. I mean, I did certainly, like, I loved the stories, and, like, I totally related to I was reading through Harry's perspective, as a kid. Yeah. So, I that's certainly what I would have wanted to be. But I think I came by it honestly. I didn't try to dupe the test or anything like that. Because some people had. There's someone in the company that was talking about it, and they were like, well, because we all said what our house was, and he was like, well, I did the test, and I was a Gryffindor, but I went back and did it more honestly later, and I was a Slytherin, because he tried to trick it successfully tricked it the first time. But I don't think I did. I think I'm a Gryffindor, earnestly.
It's as serious as like a personality test. Like it really like it reminds me of the ones I used to do like in those magazines, and you could kind of like cheat it a little bit, but you like really wanted the results that you wanted, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. You know what you want. And you know, like the Sorting Hat says about Harry, that he could have been great in Slytherin, but he wants to be in Gryffindor. Like everybody is all things, and I actually think that you know, I think that's a good metaphor in the stories. Like everybody is all things. There's a part of you that you want to be, you most want to represent everyone the way you want people to see you, but everybody is all things at all times.
I couldn't agree more. That makes a lot of sense to pull what you could like bring to the problem, like Gryffindor and courage, right, or bravery. Like the problem needs that at that point, so you can pull it out of you. But you know, I'm sure Luke could also like pull out like some evil sides of him, or like.
Is that Slytherin?
Yeah, I think, right?
I have to defend Slytherin.
Oh,
Slytherin's got a bad rep, but I think because of the position that it took in the books. And I think this play works to undo that a little bit.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That actually, you know, Slytherin. You know, we think of all the characters that came from Slytherin, and Slytherin's traits in them are like ambition, but also it's loyalty. There's cleverness. What else do we have? There's a whole bunch that I think, you know, that can serve really good purposes. Yeah. However, I do think that, you know, I'm taking this though this is like empirical fact, but that if one's top front-facing personality trait is their great, huge ambition, I could see why that could lead someone to have more villainous tendencies or more self-serving intentions.
Right.
But just because it might yield that result more often than, say, if courage was your top priority, that's not inherent. So Slytherin is not an inherently evil house. That just is a byproduct of perhaps ambition being your number one goal, if that's the most important thing to you. And
that's maybe my bias of looking at Draco Malfoy as the only Slytherin main character, or Snape, or you know, like when I watched the movies growing up, we were only looking at it from the perspective of Harry, when you read the books. So the main character is, we want to believe, the best character.
That's right, yeah.
And everyone else, you know, besides Hermione's the best character. But everyone else is, like, evil and against Harry, right? But, yeah, I totally agree with everyone into all things. It's just that we just put on a filter of, like, who we want to be. We want to be Gryffindor. We want to be the Ravenclaw or whatever.
Yeah. And I think that's the purpose of the houses, and I think that's true of life. We are all things, but we front face the thing we most prioritize, and that's good, and that says something about you. Yeah. And it's neither good nor bad. If you prioritize your ambition, or like, you know, your desire to have, like, to achieve enormous things in this world, that's just not my priority. It's not that there aren't moments, you know, like it was terribly ambitious for me to go to an open call for Harry Potter. That was terribly ambitious, and I wanted to achieve that, but that's not what I put first in my life generally. And I don't really think about achieving huge things for me in the world. That's not really what I spend my time thinking about. But sometimes I do, you know, and we
slip into it sometimes.
Totally. I don't want to be reductive about the houses, but you know, I love people, and I love taking care of people, and that's all in there. That's very Hufflepuff, and that's really in there, and that's pretty close to front facing. And you know, in the Ravenclaw, I certainly rely on what little intelligence I have. I lean on that when I can, and I like it. Like, I like when I can use my intellect. And what is it about Gryffindor that I don't even know? I can't even remember what Gryffindor's. They've got courage.
That was the one, I guess, that I always assumed would be. But is everyone courageous in Gryffindor? Like, I feel like there's a few side characters who were Gryffindor who were very, very scared in the movies, or, you know.
But then maybe it's because it's about who they want to be. They want to be courageous. They want to be brave. And
the Sorting Hat was like, oh, yeah, you want this, actually, so I'm going to put you in it.
I think that's such a good metaphor. I think that's such a good metaphor for how we function in the world and the groups that we end up falling into. Like, it's who we want to be a lot of the time, not even necessary. And often who you want to be says more about you than who you are, because hopefully we're always changing. And the lens through which we view each other, I would hope that we're looking at people. Sure, you can't ignore who someone is, but really factoring who do they want to be, what are they trying to be.
Yes, that's so philosophical, and the way that these books and the movies and this new play use an analogy like magic or like a villain and a hero. It is so digestible, and we see like ourselves in those characters, even though we're not in that world. Like it. I remember I like went back during the January lockdown and I like watched all the movies just to like remember. I had seen them when I was younger, kind of just sporadically, but I watched them all. I binged them. I had COVID, so I was like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna sit on the couch for a day and a half and do that. That's all we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And I just remember being so like emotional about it because it is truly such a metaphor for so many things. And it's all detailed, and it's all like secretly placed sometimes. Like it's not just like right on the table for you. And I could totally see where the house is, and the development of oneself really is shown for Harry and for the as they grow up. Just to tie it back to now 19 years later.
Yes, right.
We see these characters again.
That's right.
Older. I'm assuming wiser, but I don't want to like say that they're like their most wizardy at this point. What would you say?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So they are wiser. But they're all like, particularly Harry. Harry is still grappling with the childhood that he had, and the books and the movies are so fun, and they're done so exceptionally well, and they're so entertaining that it becomes easy to forget to actually put yourself in those scenarios. Is pretty mortifying. The things that Harry goes through, it's genuinely traumatic.
Yes.
So you're coming into a story with grown up everyone, grown up Harry, grown up Ron, Hermione, Ginny, Draco.
Amazing.
And you're seeing how they've all coped with having to not even just be there for the dramatic shift in the world, but to actually initiate this enormous shift in battling Voldemort and all of that.
There's so many metaphors in this play, and one of them that I'm excited to see is like the magic in person.
Oh, it's unreal.
Like creating that on a stage.
It's so spectacular. Like? And I saw the show in the UK recently because I wanted to see it as a fan before I do it, and then. I just wanted to experience it before I go and create it. And it was great. I'm so glad that I did that. I got to meet the cast and stuff, and they were so great. Wow. They're just lovely folks. It's a big global family. It's a really nice thing. It's such an ambitious play. So it's almost bewildering when you read it because they have all these descriptions of train stations that transform into all kinds of different locations. You've got spells happening on stage. You've got Polyjuice happening on stage. You have people swimming through lakes, and you go like, how are you going to do that? That isn't like reading. You kind of go like, okay, I don't really know how they're going to do that, and they do it. It's everything you read in it. They do the thing. It's spectacular.
What does that do for your process too?
It makes it 1,000 times easier. There's bits where I find myself in stuff that almost becomes like, in my experience, I find it really hard to act. These situations that are so far outside of my life. Like I love a good emotional fight scene, like that's all I've done that. I've had arguments with people. I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then it's like, okay, imagine that you're climbing on top of a train and you might fall off and you're casting spells. It's like, okay, I can imagine that. Sure, I could do that. But then you're in a production like this and it's like, it's all there for you. You literally are casting spells. I don't have to imagine stuff. That we do runs, and we're the process right now. We're rehearsing it, but they provide so much for the actors that we really get it's unlike any rehearsal room I've been in insofar as how much of the experience I'm getting at this point. Mm-hmm. It feels like we're doing a thing. Like I'll do runs and I feel the adrenaline going as though I'm in these situations. Like my body doesn't, if I'm just picturing it, my body knows I'm not in the situation. But when I'm actually doing it to a much greater degree than I would ever imagine, it feels like you're doing the thing. So it makes the acting of it much easier and much more fun.
The stakes are like actually high.
Yeah,
you don't have to get them to be high.
Yeah, they're actually like you are doing things that you never thought you would do, or you'd never be able to do. And it's amazing. The company's so good, and it's such a well put together piece. They walk us through how to do everything. They're really diligent, even in terms of, we were talking about warming up earlier, like we have 2 vocal coaches on the team. We have a physiotherapist on the team.
Jealous. That's amazing.
And 2 movement coaches that warm us up all the time. So they
glad
take
to hear that.
Yeah, they take such good care of everyone. So it's all really well handled. It doesn't change the fact that it's still overwhelming to do all this stuff, and it still feels like you're in the real thing. But at the end of the day, it's all incredibly safe and well put. It's really well built. The whole thing is a really special experience. But yeah, to answer your question, short answer, it makes it way easier. I don't have to pretend that I'm doing a spell. I actually just do the spell.
That is so cool. That's so empowering.
It's amazing. It's such a cool experience. We get to meet these characters 19 years later, and you watch them dealing with all the ramifications of the literal war that they all fought in, and how that has impacted their lives and their ability to be parents, and then I negotiate as Albus what it is to have your dad be.
I was going to ask about this.
The savior of the wizarding world. Yeah. And that's kind of the emotional centerpiece of the play. I mean, it's a spectacular piece of theater, truly unlike anything I've ever seen. But, at the heart of it, it's a play, and it's got to have a good story, or it's just not going to carry.
Yes.
Or otherwise it's just a it's just a magic show. And
exactly, yeah. You can't rely on that.
You have magic shows. Like, you can go see a magic show, and this one would serve as a magic show.
Yeah.
But really, this is play, ultimately. This is a piece of theater. And so you need something really substantial underneath it. And this play's built that through the relationship of Albus, who... ultimately is not the wizard that Harry was, and Harry, who is Harry Potter and all that is, and how does Albus negotiate that relationship? And then you get and Albus forms a really strong relationship with Scorpius Malfoy.
This is the like crossing of worlds, or like a crisscross episode where all of a sudden now Draco and Harry like have to be friends, and even more like friends than they are at the end of the last movie.
That's right.
So yeah, I'm curious so much about like playing Albus and playing that like legacy role where a character like that, I guess, and I'm assuming, please tell me if I'm wrong, has to like deal with seeing their father go on to be even better than they already were, and recognizing that their father also is traumatized, and like being a child of a traumatized parent, that goes along with it generationally. And also like where, if you can reveal, where does Albus find his own legacy? How does he like come into his own and realize, like you said, he's not the same as Harry?
Well, ultimately, Albus decides that he takes it upon him. You know, Harry did a lot of wonderful things, but you know, some people suffered.
Yep.
You know, to protect Harry,
Mm-hmm.
and Albus decides that he's gonna go and he's gonna fix some of the mistakes that Harry made.
Cool. Okay.
So he decides to carve out a legacy in direct opposition to his father as we deal with that relationship. So you have an underpinning of an emotional relationship as well as a very physical story of how they negotiate that thing together and apart. And I won't go too much farther than that, lest I spoil the play.
I know, I'm like digging so hard into your soul, and you're like, stop.
No, I think we got a good teaser in there that you can. Yeah, that is totally fair.
It's incredible, like you said, like having that narrative or that like driving storyline around all of the magic and all of the fun that we get to revisit these characters again.
You've got to have
cool.
it. If you don't have that, I think it. You know. Like I said, like you've got a magic show, which has its thing. And it's not to diminish a magic show. That's really spectacular.
It's its own medium.
It's its own medium, totally. Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is such a great piece of theater. The Globe and Mail did an article on this. It was like I guess a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago. I think it was pre-pandemic. Anyway, just talking about how Harry Potter is going to change the Canadian theatrical landscape.
Wow.
And I really think that's true. I really think it is because I obviously believe in theater, or I wouldn't be doing this as a career.
You're in good company about that.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. We're in good company with you and with all your listeners. But what's really great about this show is because of everyone's affinity with the franchise,
mm-hmm.
it can attract an audience that doesn't normally go to the theater. And they have statistics, and it's really well listed in this Globe and Mail article about the people that come to Harry Potter in other places in the world
mm-hmm.
That have never been to a play before and see this show and then return to the theater later because they were genuinely moved by this.
That's great to hear.
And I think that's so important I think it's so important for Canadian theater, especially because I think a lot of the time we can do a lot of theater that is theater for theater people.
Yes.
And that's okay. Like,
it's okay for a certain extent, and then we start to realize that we're all going to see each other's shows.
Totally.
Which is fine, but also we make art for any person. Yeah. We don't just make it for artists.
Yeah, and we have a really insular community, and the point of art, I think, is to challenge and push and to make people grow, as opposed to just telling stories about why art matters to people that know that art matters. They're going to come to shows because they believe art matters, that tell them that art matters. Like, that's just cyclical. That's not actually doing anything.
Yes, I totally agree.
And theater's such a good medium for that. Like, there is something about the immediacy of being in the space with people that really can be transformative in a way that's different than film, because you're not in the space. And I love film, and I love TV, and I think that there are really important stories that can be told that way as well. But there is something special about the immediacy of literally breathing the air of people as they're going through something.
Yeah.
It's so special, and if we can get people to this show, and if they can see it and go, oh, wow, that was so fun and moving and meaningful, and I deeply believe that this play is and will be, and just seeing the work that's done already, 50% of the way through the rehearsal, I feel very strongly about this. And I've done shows that I have not felt strongly about.
No, that's honest. Same here.
Yeah. This is not one of them.
And it's keeping you going, like we were talking about. Like, just knowing that this piece of art is going to be impactful, it's going to be nostalgic, it's going to be, at least I'm assuming, it's going to be nostalgic. And it will bring about people who are fans of the story, who are fans of magic, who are fans of the fantasy that comes with, who have seen themselves in Harry and now are going to see themselves in Albus and be transformed. I'm really excited too about, there's a lot of dance in it, there's a lot of movement. Mm-hmm. It is a play, but I feel like the score as well is going to be so contemporary, and I love Imogen Heap. That's like every dancer's dream, by the way.
Oh. Imogen
Heap, like Hide and Seek by Imogen Heap is like the song that everyone wants to dance to. So having, Imogen's like,
there's a gorgeous choral version of hide and seek in this play.
Get out.
It's unbelievable.
I'm gonna cry.
It's
as soon as I hear it.
And the scene that I won't give away when it takes place. I mean, I didn't even know that that's what it was when it first played. Someone pointed it out to me, and I was like, oh, I didn't even clock that.
Well, and some people would know that song from Jason Derulo.
Oh, I know.
Which is the most poppy thing in the world. But Imogen is like a truly contemporary singer-songwriter. Like, yeah,
unbelievable. And she wrote the score specifically for this play.
That's so cool.
And it's so evocative. Like, same thing as with the physical nature of the pieces they put together for us that just creates a physical response. The music does it too. It really makes it so much easier to act when you're looking at these. You're experiencing these scenes that are just almost feel. I'm not sure. I don't want to be detrimental to my own imagination here, but almost feel too big for my imagination. Like, how do I imagine myself in these situations? You just do what you can to find it.
Yep.
And for this play, one of those aids is like, there's this gorgeous score that plays underneath, and there's so much of this play that does the work for you, or helps you imaginatively find yourself in that world, in that situation.
Cool.
It makes such a difference. I'll take all the help I can get, and this play certainly gives a lot to that.
Cool. And and audiences too, they don't just get to hear the text and hear the story, they get to listen to it, they get to watch it. Like, they get all of the sensorial, sensations from watching it in person. Like we're saying, it has to be in person. I'm assuming that just the energy is going to be electric as soon as the curtains open.
Even, seeing on the West End where it had been open for a little bit at that point, it's just so shocking. Like, there's just so much in this play that you don't think you will ever see. Like, you would never imagine seeing it on stage. And there's something really amazing. I think what's so great about this play too is that I think film does what film does. The film can tell you a story in a way that it's not that it doesn't engage you. It does engage you, but it gives it to you. It gives you the story, and you watch it, and you take it in. So this is not to be diminutive of film.
No.
But it hands you what you need, because you can literally see, like, if there's a dragon, you can look at the dragon and you know what you're looking at. You don't really need to suspend disbelief.
Yes.
Any more than just, okay, I'm buying into the story and there are dragons in this world. Okay, got it. Whereas theater, you have to work with it. You have to give to the thing. You won't have a dragon on stage, and certainly not one that looks like an actual.
There's going to be puppeteers.
Yeah, there's going to be puppeteers. You're going to see them,
running around.
Warhorse did a really spectacular job of doing that. Lion King does that really well.
Absolutely.
You're not looking at an animal. You know that. They make that very apparent.
You're looking at people literally in real time construct a sculpture, or how big it is, whatever, into something that you're like, this is almost more powerful.
That's
because
right.
It's bringing people together to make things happen.
That's right. And they're not hiding it. They don't. And that's the difference. Like, that's what the strength that film has that need not be competed with, because it wouldn't work.
Yes.
But it shouldn't work, because it actually does engage the audience in a way that is special to theater, that we are contributing to what's happening on stage by not looking at that and going like, that's a person in a horse costume. Like, we all know that.
Yes.
But we are all agreeing that by sitting in that theater, we're going to give to this. Because if you don't give to it, you're not going to have a good time at the theater. And let's hope people aren't going to the theater to go like, I'm not going to like this.
Yeah.
I do think some people...
I'm not going to use my imagination. Then go home and sit and watch a show on your laptop.
Yeah, don't
dilute the entire medium then, because you're not welcome.
Yeah, don't go to theater with that mindset, because it's detrimental to everyone around you, but it's detrimental to you. You're missing out on experiences if you want to go in and not like something.
That's why sometimes theater is so much more expensive, because like you have to come to it, and you have to be willing to like sit with it and be there physically, mentally, emotionally. You're present with them. And then when the encore happens and the show is done, the feeling that I get from leaving a theater is so much more valuable to me than leaving a movie theater or just closing my laptop after watching Netflix. And not having it for so long, I've forgotten that feeling. Like, I went to see a show just earlier today before I came to see you, and the music cut out. So the music stopped working. The dancers on stage, she kept going. They kept going, like they were into it. But it was just a reminder of, like, yeah, we mess up sometimes. But then she got back out there and she did it again. And the crowd went crazy. Because we were like, yes, keep going. We want to see, human mistake turn into something so much more magical.
That's incredibly gratifying.
It's great.
It's an acknowledgement of, like, we are all here together, right? And the audience goes, yes, indeed.
We're here together, exactly.
That's so, and that's what the theater has, and you're exactly right. It's so satisfying, and it nourishes you, to go back to your food metaphor.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the film can't do it, because I have seen films that have done it, but or that have felt, that are particularly challenging and evocative, but it's the difference of, like, I love throwing on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like, I'm not trying to speak ill of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but at the end of it, it's like, oh, that was a good dessert. Like, that was a good snack.
Yes.
As opposed to, like, when I see a good piece of theater, that's like a good, healthy dinner that feels satisfying. Yeah, it's a feast when it's good.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, when I see a bad movie, I'm kind of like, oh, that sucked. When I see a bad play, I leave it going like, oh, that's so frustrating because I worked and I couldn't enjoy it, and that's really disappointing. Particularly when it's almost good. Like, I feel like, oh, it was so cool, it could have been, and that drives me crazy in a way that I don't feel about film. But then when it goes well, it's like we've all succeeded, and it feels so, as you said, it feels so satisfying. And so I think that's something really special that theater can offer.
And going back to what we were saying about Canadian audiences needing to come back to theater, or even just being introduced to it, there's something so special about this show because it's so global, because it has a legacy. Even if you don't even know the last name of Harry Potter, like, that it's about wizards. Sure. So that you're going to come in there feeling so fantastical and otherworldly and going into a new dimension. I think that, like you said, and like the Globe and Mail said, this is a perfect example of what we need right now. We need something that is global. I'm sure it's a happy show. I'm sure, like, there's nothing, that's gonna, like, drag people away from it. I'm sure it's gonna bring people up, which is something else we need now.
There are obviously
there's going to be trauma and there's going to be obstacles in it, yes, but
you go through the play and you hope for a happy ending, and it I'm not I don't know where the play goes. I don't know how it goes, but certainly it draws you into a story with people that when I read the story and when I saw the story that I loved and I was going through it with. Yeah, it was a really exciting experience when I saw it. And I feel pretty confident that it's going to be that here. Just looking at... Yeah. It's very rare that I'm in a show, and it's hard, as you know, when you're in a show, looking at it and going, like, you kind of look around and you're like, is this good? I think we're in a good one, right? I
think it's working.
You were always like, I hope so.
Yeah.
It's hard to know.
Yeah, that word hope that you said, that's so needed right now.
Yeah, I think that this show, it really is special. And I get like, I throw up in my mouth every time I say it's a magical show because it's just too on the nose. But I'm like, but it is. It is a magical show.
Not just in a physical making of spells, but like the feeling is magical going there, I'm assuming.
Deeply.
Yeah.
And, especially if you read the stories, because you're going back to these places that you have a relationship with, and you get to experience it in a new way with new characters and old characters, and it's really exciting. And if you don't know it, then you're introduced to a new world that is just laden with history, that even if you haven't read the books and even if you haven't seen the movies, you can get into the story because all the characters, you know, it's not like we haven't seen a talented, stubborn character before in a million different stories, and a brilliant character, and, you know, the best friend who's funny, and, you know, and the kid who's struggling to get along with his dad, and the kid who's different but is so beautifully open to the world. You know, these are all characters that if you know the play, you probably know who I'm citing.
The familial relationships,
they're all there.
We all have families. We can all resonate with that.
Totally. And I think that there, you know, and that was a thing that John Tiffany, the original director, said was, you know, he didn't know how to do this story, but when they found that relationship, because it went through other iterations of what they thought this could be.
Okay.
And then they found this relationship with Harry and Albus, and particularly one scene where they went, oh, yeah, we have a story, we have a play, we have the story underpinning this thing.
Oh. I'm so excited I want to know what that scene is now, but I'm not going to ask you.
I mean, it could be a number of scenes, really.
Cool. Okay.
I mean, I know which scene it was, but
yeah. How's it been working with your fellow actor who is playing Harry? I don't remember what his name is.
Oh, it's Trevor White.
Trevor White. How's that been doing?
Extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's been incredible.
Yay.
He's such a talented actor. That, I mean, it goes without saying, to some degree, like if you're here doing that part, obviously you're good. But he's so shockingly good at his job. He's so scary present. Like he's so
cool,
intensely there when we're working. Like he's always right on it, and our push and pull feels to me really really fluid and collaborative and exciting and challenging. But and so that's all okay. That's all fine and good. It's lovely when the actor's really good. More importantly, he's just an awesome guy. Like he's such a fun, excellent, caring, you know, leader in the company. Just amazing. to have him be so sociable and caring. He wants to make connections with everyone all the time. And he's got a wife at home who is very pregnant right now.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and he's gonna be having a kid any moment.
So he's gonna be a father and then let that inform his practice.
Well, he's already a father of one.
Oh, okay.
But he's gonna have another one.
Wow.
And you know, I forget about that. Like I forget that he's got this thing that's gonna happen any day because he's so in the room. Like despite what's going on in his life, he checks out of the door and he's there for the company when he's there. We have a really great relationship between the two of us, working relationship, friendly relationship. And you know, it's so funny how it happens. I've been kind of reflecting on this lately a little bit. I'm like, oh, it's interesting. Like I don't believe in method act. That's not really my go-to. That doesn't serve me.
Yep.
But I have found as I think about it, I'm like, oh, I kind of end up in some ways we like fulfill the roles in the show. And, you know, like I'm a young member of this company. Like I booked this job in my last year of theater school. So I am young. I am inexperienced. Trevor is older and he is really experienced. And Trish Lindstrom plays Ginny, my mom in the show. And she's really experienced. She's done a lot. She worked at Stratford and she did Once here with John Tiffany as well. Oh my gosh, one of my favorite musicals. Great. Yeah, so she was the girl in that. And so they're both much more experienced than I. So it makes sense. But I found this before too. Like I kind of fall into that role of whatever it is. And in this show, you know, it's like the kid that kind of screws it up sometimes. But, you know, hopefully I'm not screwing it up too much, but in the best way. In the best way. Yeah, finding as Albus would. Yeah, exactly. Finding my footing in this huge, enormous production, this huge, enormous role. And that I'm super lucky that the other two people that are helping fill that is, you know, Trevor and Trish, who are like so paternal, and Trish is so naturally maternal and loving and comforting and attentive and affectionate, and she's so smart that I'm sure she's aware of the pressure of this thing, and she's always checking in and seeing how I'm doing, and very affirmative and really just kind and lovely. So if I'm to fall into the role a little bit, to have the son position, Trish and Trevor are great parental figures.
One. Yeah.
We walk on set, and the rehearsal space, and I just call them Mom and Dad.
Oh, right away, it's just there.
It's just right there. It came very naturally between the three of us.
Amazing.
And that's because they're just the right fit for those roles, and quite frankly, like, I'm probably the right fit for that. They cast really effectively. We are bringing a lot of ourselves to these parts.
Amazing.
Even Bane, the centaur from the stories, appears in this play. It's an actor named Caleb. He's playing a mythical creature, so, like, obviously he's not a centaur. But even in roles like that, like, Caleb just has this spectacular charisma. Like, he is legitimately magnetic, and his voice is stunning. Like, just right off the bat, he's not a centaur, but he's bringing just more of himself in a lot of ways to these roles.
Cool.
And he plays...
That, for me, is the best kind of art, when the actor can not just be, like, someone other than themselves, but the process informs the relationships in the room and then on the stage. Like you're saying, like, I think... I never get to be in the room most of the time when I see something, but I always want to be, because I want to see those relationships form and then spread out and expand on stage into your characters.
I think that's how it works best. I mean, for me, it certainly is. And, like, I don't currently have a passion to pursue the sort of Daniel Day-Lewis chameleon.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think I'm good enough for it, but I'm more
no
than
one
that.
is except him. I feel like
he's very special. But yeah, I kind of go like, I just kind of want to bring me in the way that I can, and that seems to be that's the most enticing for me. I enjoy that the most.
It's enough also, right? Like, there really doesn't have to be Luke. It's enough. It's enough. And I'm telling this for myself too, as my own artist. Like, we are human, and that is, like we said, this is what I want to see on stage. So I want to see human mistake. I want to see human success. I want to see human emotion and movement, so that it doesn't feel like I'm disconnected from the audience, from the show.
That's right.
If I'm sitting in the audience, right?
Yeah, I think that, whether you're a trained practitioner or not, you can smell insincerity.
Yes, absolutely.
If someone's putting it on,
yes,
you just know. And Daniel Day-Lewis isn't putting it on. He's fun. He's accessing parts of himself and broadening who he is to get there.
Totally.
In a way that is uniquely special. And he's obviously incredible.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we're all doing, whether you know it or not. I mean, this might be too broad a thing to say, and I'm certainly not experienced enough to have developed this opinion. But I do think, in a certain way, we are all just bringing out ourselves in this thing, and
please keep going with that.
You pull forward, same thing we talked about with the houses. Like, you pull forward different things at different moments, but at all times, we are all things. We can do all things, good and bad. Everyone is capable of really, really special and amazing and really horrible things. We can't imagine the circumstances that would push us to horrible things, hopefully, for most of us. But it's in there.
Sometimes it's just in there.
It's always in there.
Like evil wizard, killing your parents and then putting a scar on your face.
Yeah.
That just happens sometimes.
Well, and that's a great, that's a great thing that carries forward in this play, too, that, and you'll see it when you see it. But yeah, just talking about how these people become this way. That, Voldemort wasn't born evil.
Right.
Voldemort had a terrible, terrible childhood.
Yes.
And that drove him to become the person that he became. He was lonely. And the effects that loneliness has, and that features in the play as well.
And I imagine a lot of people have been feeling lonely. They have been feeling... A lot of audiences have been wanting to connect again. So, get your tickets, because this is going to be the show to see. It's opening on June 19th at the CAA at Mirvish Theatre. Luke will be in it. I will definitely be in the audience at some point. And we're just gonna get out our wands together.
Yeah.
That's the best part about it. I can't wait to see, and the wand dance is gonna happen too. Is that a thing?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course.
I saw there was a post about it, so I feel like I could talk about it. That's so fun to incorporate all that movement.
It's a really important part of the show. John Tiffany was the director, and he worked closely with Stephen Hoggett, who is a movement, the movement director, and he's done a lot of shows that are really movement based, and this one is very movement heavy.
I'm so excited.
Just the way that the movement uses bodies in space to create environments is so inventive.
Ooh, that's right up my alley.
Yeah, I mean, and they have us doing an hour warm up every morning, an hour physical warm up. It's
amazing.
Just to make sure our bodies can do the things we need them to do.
Yes.
Leaping off trains, lifting people,
Fantastic.
doing the wand dance.
Yeah.
It's they're all forms of. It's all part of the theatrical storytelling that theater can do. That you can have a movement piece to tell a story. There's another movement piece that comes later in the play that. It's so special. It's a less physical thing.
Okay.
The physical choreo in the play is amazing. The wand dance is certainly the most strenuous one I do.
And holding something and I know it's an audio podcast, but to have your stance be in a wizardy way. As I watch the movies, I'm sure they had to go through some kind of training to just to feel not human anymore.
They're very detailed about what each spell is, how you do spell. They're very careful about.
That's so interesting to me.
I love it. It's a really fun thing, just the detail of this whole process, and the wand dance. The idea of it being when you watch it that the wand is taking over. So they talk a lot about, it's good for dancers. I think would love the process, talking about and movement initiation.
Exactly, yeah.
And then it's distally initiated because it's the wand. It's not you. Yeah. It's the wand is taking you around. Cool. I'm waving for audio listeners. I'm waving my wrist around.
There's so much happening. Yeah.
But it's that detail being really technical of no right now. See, you're initiating from your elbow. You want to initiate right from the wand. The wand is pulling you around, and they're really careful with that because it's storytelling through movement. And there's a piece later that is it's a totally different tempo from that, but you tell a story of time passing and the relationship between Albus and Scorpius, which you'll see when you see it, and we tell it through. It's probably 1.5 minutes long, maybe 2 minutes long, just movement.
Cool.
And it's such a moving piece of theater, and it's there's I don't even it's no acting required because you just do the movement and it tells the story. And at the end of it, I sort of was flying over in my head to did I do the movement? Was the story there? And I was thinking the story. Just oh my god! And I just started crying because it's such a beautiful piece of movement, and they've done it so effectively.
The movement lover in me is I know that feeling. Yeah. Of just knowing that I don't have to overperform it. Yes. Because it's telling the story for itself, and I just in my body I just echo through it.
That's right. That's right. And you don't want to overperform. You want to because you don't want you to get in the way of the movement. The movement is telling the story. All you do is you just need to be an outlet through which to tell that story physically.
Beautiful.
And just stay out of the way. Let it do its thing because it is a tremendously well-crafted piece. Wow. And that's really liberating as an artist, kind of going and that's what this whole play, it's a lot of pressure coming right out of school and having this huge role in this massive production. But then I kind of go it's got the most incredible group of actors that I've ever worked with. They're so just the wealth of experience that this company has. Like, I cannot think of a show that has more hours logged on stage between the company than this one.
Wow.
It's extraordinary. Like, we've got like literal theater icons.
Amazing.
Just lining this production. So it's got an incredible ensemble. The story is really, really, really great. The script is so well crafted. It takes the pressure off that it's like, well, this actually just is a really great piece. So as long as I go with the piece and I don't get in the way of the thing,
yes,
the story is there. I just need to let the story be told.
Yes.
You know, sometimes via me.
Just be human.
But it's there. Like, it's such a, exactly. Just be human. Don't get in the way of it. And it's a really strong piece. And that's, you know, same thing. That's really freeing.
Yes.
That, you know, as artists, we put pressure on ourselves. We want to be so good. And that when you have a great piece backing you, you can kind of go like, the pressure isn't on me. It isn't up to me to make this thing spectacular, because it is spectacular.
Yeah. And
I'm
the
just
people,
one piece.
Yeah. All of the people who are part of it, together, you all unite into this big thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, yes, there's different cogs in the machine, but yeah, you can all support each other through it.
Yeah, you
and give it to us as like a little present to the audience.
Yeah, giving it away is such a...
That's thrilling. I'm so thrilled for you.
Oh, me too. I'm so thrilled for me. It feels...
just to see that this is your, you know, one of your first big things out of school. And
first.
And you've been like holding on to it for so long as well. I feel like it's finally going to come to see the light, and I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, everyone was holding on to it for so long.
Yeah. The pandemic is gone now, well, hopefully, and we can finally get back to what we love doing.
Yeah, thank goodness.
And keep doing it, keep being inspired by it. I'm so excited.
Oh, yeah.
I will include the ticket link in the description. Please go and get your tickets. You don't want to miss this, especially if you're in Toronto. You know, I walk by those Hogwarts houses banners every single day.
Oh, you do?
And it's just like, I have to be, like, I know for sure I'm going to be there.
It's a really special piece. It defies expectation, and the caliber of talent on stage and off. It's so unprecedented. Like, I've never seen a team stacked like this, and it shows. You know, we're 1 month into rehearsals. We've got another month to go, and we
finishing out the polishing and the getting off booking things. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've learned the piece. Like, we've got it all in there, and now
That's exciting.
It's fine tuned. We have an international director that just got in yesterday.
Okay.
And we did an Act 1 run, and he at the end of it he went like, you're all 1 month into the process, and you have no business being as good as you are at this point.
I mean, if that's any tagline right there.
Yeah, we'll take it.
You have to go see this show, listeners. You really do.
It's really great.
Luke, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking your day off to spend it with me.
Oh, I'm happy to. I've been looking forward to this since we talked about it before I started this whole process. So.
No, I'm so glad you could come back. If there's anything else that you want to plug, where can people find you too if they want to know more about you?
You could follow me on Luke Kimball Acting on Instagram.
I will
but this show is the main thing I've got going on right now.
Amazing.
It's pretty all encompassing of
Yes.
my time, and I'm thrilled with that. So yeah, come check it out.
Yes, I can't agree more. I feel like it's going to be the show that so many Canadian audiences need right now. Yeah. And get your tickets. Luke, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Art Versations podcast. Please help the podcast community continue to grow by clicking subscribe or follow on your podcast platform, and leave a review. As well, follow the podcast on Instagram at ArtVersationsPod. You'll find photos of the guests you just heard, plus highlights and quotes from each episode. Let's keep the Art Versation going. Send in a DM with your thoughts about art and any questions you might have for guests. Special thank you goes out to Jen Marquez and Maxim Bartnowski for their contributions. And thank you, listener. Till next time.